My name is Irvin Gibson. If I could choose one word to describe fatherhood, it would be family. Yes, as a father, I think that Chris and I have a good relationship. Sometimes as I might say something to him, he might act like he didn't hear me, but I know he heard me. If something he don't want to respond to, he would act like he don't hear me. But we does have a good relationship. I think that him, I got two sons, and I had to treat each one of them different. Chris talks so low sometimes. I have to talk to him to get him make sure he understands what I'm saying. And once he understands what I'm saying, it's perfect. So I have no problem with it. But I understand why he like that, because I myself always, when I was his age, I talked real soft, and I still talk soft sometimes. A lot of people said that they couldn't hear me. So he doing the same thing that I was doing at his age. So I understand it. See, a lot of people don't understand it, but because I hear so many people talk so loud, I said, I don't want to be loud like that. So I always put myself low key. Mm-hmm.
My father was not to be played with. He was strict, but I think as we got older, obviously he kept a distance because to raise a child, you have to maintain a certain kind of distance of level of authority. So I respect that. As I gotten older, we kind of developed a closer relationship, able to talk about more things, and I have a deeper understanding of what he was saying and an appreciation because the stuff he said that I didn't like turned out to be right. So obviously with that, and also just appreciating him more, all the stuff that he had to go through with having my own son. So I developed a deeper appreciation for all the stuff that he did.
I was raised as a kid, don't lie, don't steal, don't take, and respect older people, no matter whether it's mama, aunt, uncles, or your neighbor who. I was raised to respect them, and that was in me, and I've tried to pass it on to my kids, that respect your elder.
I guess some of the qualities would be like work ethic, your word. So if you give your word to do something, as a man, you're supposed to uphold that and keep that because at the end of the day, that's all you have. And also being there, being consistent. He's always been there, still is there. So that's some of the qualities that I try to pass on to CJ. Just no one's going to give you anything. You have to work for it, and you have to be a person of honor. When you tell someone something, when you say I'm going to do something, I'm going to be there, then you have to honor that what you said, and that's what I try to pass on to him.
Actually, I think it was easier back in my time, because in my time, kids will respect the parents more. And if their parents tell them to do something, they would do it because they know what they would get if they didn't do it. And now, the kids now these days, they losing all that respect from the parents. And I try to instill that in my kids, that try to raise them the best you can to respect you and elders. I know it's hard these days to raise a kid now, because the TV and so much going on around your parents and other kids, it's hard to raise a kid really to respect like you would love for them to, but you do the best you can.
Each has its own challenges. I feel that with the influx of the internet and social media, all these different things brings different challenges, because you really have to monitor that and also try to limit exposure, because you don't want them to become too exposed to different things, which is a challenge that I don't think, that my parents had to deal with when I was coming up. So they pretty much had a lot more influence as far as what I got to see, what I didn't get to see. So that presents its challenges, but each, I think, has its own different challenges. It might be a little bit harder now just because of the way the information is readily available to children, and at a time when they necessarily should not be exposed to it. So that's always a challenge, just trying to limit their information or what they see and things like that. I don't know if I can narrow it down to one. Particularly one piece as it relates to marriage or any relationships, thing he told me was, don't start anything you don't plan to keep up. So if you opening doors and doing all of these other things like that, he said, you're not planning on keeping it, don't start it, because you're gonna cause a bunch of problems as it goes on. And other would be just be who you are, be respectful, treat people respect the way you want to be treated.
Well, in my days, everybody was, you could see it. Your parents would always tell you to make sure you treat everybody like you like to be treated. And you grow up watching people, how they do, how they take care of their kids, how they treat their kids. And so many things that you know not to do that you want to do, because you know what's going to happen if you didn't do it. So you learn to respect that, and you live by that. And that was I learned to live by that. And as I got older, I really respect that, because that made me a better man. Mm-hmm. It's a whole lot of different. Girls to me is more easy, and they're more tender around the daddy, because the daddy can just say one word and they're just. But boys, you gotta get a little rough with them. But I learned to tell my kids, Chris was Don. I had my older son named Don. This is Chris Young. They're like 10 years different than them.
17.
13?
17.
17? Chris had a chance to get away with a whole lot more than his brothers and sisters did, because I had to soften up a little bit, because I was pretty strict when I was young. When my older kids come along, because so many things were happening, so he had to be more stricter. But as I got older, I got softer, and to Chris, and even softer to CJ. CJ get away with a whole lot more, my grandkids and my kid did.
Which I disagree. She's not a daddy's girl. I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a difference. She's always pretty much, I could just tell her something, she would usually just go right ahead and do it. She would listen, usually the first time, which is awesome. And we were always, I was the second person to hold her after the first person after the doctor to hold her, so I was right there. I even named her. I prayed about it, and God said, name her Kirsten. I named her Kirsten. Come to find out, the name means anointed one. So, yeah, it's always been a close relationship. She's spoiled. Her mother would say she's spoiled. CJ's a little different. You kind of, like to my dad's point, you kind of have to get a little bit tougher with him, because he takes him 2 or 3 times. You got to jack him up before he actually gets it. But Kirsten, that wasn't the issue. So they're good in their own way, and they're different. You have to treat each one different to kind of get to them, to reach them. So. Kirsten always surprises me because she's into like political things, social justice, all kind of things. Where she's constantly reading things, and what surprises me is her passion for helping other people. Because I didn't necessarily have that at her age, so it's kind of refreshing at the same time. But she gets so worked up over it. And what gets me is she's so soft-spoken when it comes to issues of herself. But when she sees other people being mistreated, she just jumps up. It's like, oh, that's not right. And that's surprising. CJ always says something that always gets my attention. So he's always saying something. There's not really one thing I can say, or one time I can pick on CJ, because he always says something that catches you off guard. So.
I tried to live a way so my kids respect me as a father. And when I say that, is that I never have, even when they were grown, my kids was little, I never tried to do anything bad before them. I didn't try to drink before them, curse before them, or do anything. I try to live a clean life so they will see that they could respect me. I didn't want them to live so that, well, I can run around, I can drink with my daddy, or I can play with him, I can wrestle with him. I never wrestled too much with my kids to play with them when they got bigger. I did when they were small, because I say this: when you get playing with your kids, when they get a little bit bigger, then they want to try you, and you know they want to try to think they're gonna bench, and then you know what I would do. I would lay them out. And so you got to respect your kids, but you got to live a way that they will respect you. And if you do too much, not around them, that they'll lose respect for you. So you got to live a little distant, so your kids will respect you. You can't just get out here and play and do too much with them. You got to live something so they can see that you as a father and not just another buddy.
Faith has actually influenced me being a father. Is just trying to set the proper example. But I let my light shine so that they will see my good works and want to glorify our Father. So, like similar to what my dad said, trying to do negative things in front of them, present a positive example. To be honest and forthright in all that I do in front of them. And any promises I make and things like that, I try to make sure I keep those promises, just to show a good example. Yeah, just how he always pressed forward, taking care of family and oftentimes doing multiple jobs and things like that, and even having to go work with them and help him do things. And just show how good God is, how he's able to build things, houses and cabinets and all that stuff with no formal training and all that type of thing. You can see that God had his hand on him to show him all them things, working on cars and all this stuff. Like I said, again, no formal training, all that stuff like that. You can see how God helped him and how he continued to push on in spite of adversity and things like that. So he never quit or wavered. He was always here.
I can say a whole lot of them would be, but I'm more or less on the green pastures. That's my favorite verse is green pastures, because you know, I always think about you got to go through what in the green pastures. You got to go through what God said. Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. And when if you know God is with you, then you know you don't fear too much. When I was growing up with my family, you know, things was tough. So I worked hard, and I know that God blessed me to be able to raise my kids and not let them want for nothing that I went through. Because when I went through it was different. Things was tough, and I didn't want my kids coming up like that. So I tried to provide the best I could and make sure that they didn't want for nothing that they really needed. Now I ain't say they wanted a lot that they didn't get, but what they really needed, I tried to prepare it and make sure they got it.
Okay, good.
Well, my pride is that I brought them in the church wise, and I raised them up. When my kids were growing up, when they were real small, I wasn't hardly going to church much. I grew up in the church too, but when my kid was small, I said, I'm getting out of here and going to church. I started going to church. Started right up here to going to church when they were small. And I've been in the church ever since, because I want them to get the value that I had, that, you know, learn something about God or what's going on in the church. When you're out there running around with the kids all the time, and then don't see what's going on in the church, you lose so much value. But you can get them in the church and let them learn, especially when they're small. If you get them in church when they're small, they'll learn a lot. But when they get a certain age, then they start turning away. They'll start getting away from it. But if you get that embedded in them while they're small, then that'll stay with them. That'll stick with them. So I always say, get them in the church when they're small, like CJ. Now he's getting away a little bit now because of computers. But I told him to keep it away from him. But keep kids interested and listen, because kids listen to you when you don't think to listen, not listen. They are listen. And CJ right now, sometimes he come up to me and say things, he act like he ain't paying no attention. He know every word I said. He done picked it up. So, you know, embed that in your kids. And like when my kid was up, I had a choir. I had a choir. My three oldest kids was Sylvia, Chris wasn't born then. Dawn, Sylvia, and Kirsten. I had a choir. The Gibson singers. I mean, they were good too. So I kind of like brought my kids up in the choir. People call them, bring your kids over here and let them sing in the church. So, you know, you keep them in the church, working in the church, and then they will always think about, you know, God, you know, if you get in tough times, then they got something to rely on. They can think, oh, God, help me. I'll say this, my daughter, I wouldn't know that when she passed. She had an aneurysm. The guy told me the night she passed, and said that he was there with her when he left, and said she was on the couch praying, Lord, help me, Lord. And said, and she was having an aneurysm, but he didn't know that. And she died that night, but she was praying to the Lord, telling him to help her. So, you know, embed something in your kids that they won't forget. Mm-hmm.
What about me makes you proud?
Say the biggest thing is that you're a good person, that you have a good heart, and you want to treat people the way you want to be treated. So that makes me proud.
What is your favorite thing to do with me?
Few things. Playing video games, basketball, just talking, hanging out, watching the car together, getting haircuts, that type of stuff. So what about me makes you proud for me to be your dad?
Because you're kind.
Patient. He's always patient with these little ones that we have, especially CJ. CJ gives him a run for his money, but he's quite patient with him and Kirsten, and just the love that he shows between the two of them. Funny. He has a great sense of humor. He kids around with the children. Kirsten is a daddy's girl, by the way. He loves on both of them, and just the way he loves them and shows how just great of a person he is, and just father, and it's just awesome to watch and see the relationship between him and his daughter and his son. I am proud of Chris as a father because of his love, of his patience and kindness, and just his overall joy that he has with his kids. How he keeps us in prayer, he prays over us, he makes sure that we have everything that we need. Anything you ask him, he'll give you. Maybe a day or two later, but he always comes back and say, I got you. Isn't that right? I got you. I got you. So, couldn't ask for a better husband and father for my kids.
Okay.